Multiple women in the Taipei city government come forward with claims of sexual harassment, the latest in what's being called Taiwan's Me Too movement. A Taiwanese presidential candidate stokes controversy with comments on a disputed island group. A Taiwanese soccer player in Spain reveals he's received his third contract from a Spanish team. Plus, the drought in southern Taiwan hits the country's highest reaches, impacting production of high mountain oolong tea. Hello and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Eric Gao. A group of women working in the Taipei city government say they face sexual harassment by a security guard. It's the latest in a series of similar cases to come to light here in Taiwan. Some people are calling it the country's Me Too moment. Bing Wang reports.
6 more people in the Taipei city government have come out against the sexual abuser. The sexual abuser is a male security guard working in their workplace. He's been sending them unwanted text messages, touching them, and even asking them out on dates. One time, he even locked the doors so they can't leave their workplace. It's important to note that these are all just allegations so far. A full investigation is underway.
整个事件中，没有人给我们一丝的关怀，只有不断的质疑我们的出发点，甚至语带威胁的告诉支持我们的同仁，不要再找议员申诉了。
您认为这样的状况，这么多的受害女子，今天公园处派你过来讲的只是2次申诫吗？这样的状况，你今天把它调离其他处所，你在那边盘点有没有女性，这是重点吗？难道其他处所的女性就不会受害吗？
Taiwan has seen a rise in sexual harassment cases in recent weeks, from professors to activists to even politicians. It's become known as Taiwan's Me Too movement, and the hope is once more people come out, others will be brave enough to do so as well. Easton Chen and Bing Wang in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Meanwhile, more allegations are surfacing in the education sector. A school principal in central Taiwan's Nantou County has been accused of sexually harassing over 150 students. Joyce Tseng has this story.
More victims step forward. Ms. Zhang is testifying against her then elementary school teacher, who she said sexually abused her in a car when she was just a student. That teacher is now a school principal, and as other victims speak up, it's believed he could have assaulted as many as 150 children. According to Chen Yiling, a secretary general at an NGO working to prevent child exploitation, the revelations signal an unfortunate, long-standing problem.
I'm not very surprised to hear about this case, especially it lasts for more than 20 years. When things happen, the teachers tend to cover for each other. They protect each other rather than protect children.
Hierarchies dominate Taiwan's workplace cultures, which is true of schools too. Teachers rely heavily on each other and their superiors to secure career opportunities. Teachers are also highly regarded in Taiwanese society, which is evident in the trust parents have in the country's educators.
Parents, they trust teachers will take good care of their children, or they trust teachers will help their children to get to good schools. It's important for parents to trust your children rather than trust the teachers.
In 2021, Taiwan's police registered over 7,500 cases of sexual assault, over half of which involved victims younger than 18. Chen warns that with the onset of virtual learning tools from the pandemic, protecting children has become even harder.
If we talk about the violence happens, of sexual harassment, of sexual abuse, sexual exploitation happens online, we see a trend that the numbers are increasing.
Looking out for the mental and physical well-being of children, especially in this evolving digital age, is an increasingly urgent and difficult task. But the bare minimum of keeping kids safe can be met by having more open conversations with them and taking them at their word. Devin Tai and Joyce Zin for TaiwanPlus.
Washington's top Taiwan official has met with the presidential candidate for the main opposition Kuomintang. Laura Rosenberger is the U.S.-based head of the American Institute in Taiwan, or AIT. She held a one-hour discussion with Hou Yu-ih on Wednesday at New Taipei City Hall. The AIT is Washington's de facto embassy here in Taiwan, as the two sides don't have official diplomatic ties. The KMT has not said what the two discussed. Then on Thursday, Rosenberger met with current vice president and the candidate for the ruling DPP, Lai Ching-te. This is Rosenberger's second visit to Taiwan since assuming the post in late March. Separately, the presidential candidate for the Taiwan People's Party has hit out at his opponent's China policies. Speaking in Japan, Ko Wen-je says under the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, communication with China has become impossible. He also says the opposition Kuomintang has failed to stand up to Beijing. Ko says his party is trying to strike a middle ground ahead of Taiwan's presidential elections in January. While in Japan, Ko also said that he would not meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping just for the sake of it. Other comments Ko made in Japan have stoked controversy, specifically regarding the disputed Diaoyutai or Senkaku Islands. The uninhabited islands, which are near rich fishing waters, are administered by Japan, but the islands are also claimed as part of the territories of both Taiwan and China. While in Japan, Ko said that Taiwan's fishermen are less concerned about the country's claim to the islands. He said they're more interested in being able to fish there. Responding to Ko's comments, the KMT said there is no room for any concessions when it comes to sovereignty. To find out more about the controversy, our reporter James Chater spoke with Ross Feingold, a political risk analyst based here in Taipei.
Give us some background to this issue. Why have Ko Wen-je's comments provoked some controversy with some people in Taiwan?
The political aspects of this domestically here in Taiwan are also very interesting because it's no surprise that a nationalist party, Kuomintang candidate, would adhere to the traditional sovereignty claims of the Republic of China. So we'd expect that from the Nationalist Party. The Democratic Progressive Party kind of struggles with these issues because on the one hand, we know that they want a separate identity for Taiwan. Ko Wen-je's statement was a bit odd. It seems like, as is periodically the case with Ko Wen-je, he didn't think through what he was about to say, because giving up a sovereignty claim, which is basically what he did, you'll get attacked from all sides when you do that.
Do you think this is another issue where Ko Wen-je is trying to strike a sort of middle ground? And if so, how successful do you think it's really been?
Well, that's what he says he tries to do. He says, I'm not about being partisan. I'm not about being pro-green, pro-blue. So again, it's not a surprise that he would try to take some kind of middle ground. Again, I don't think he really thought this one through. It was probably more off the cuff when he said it. But I don't think it'll go down very well with the public because, again, it'll come across as giving away a sovereignty claim, whether it's a historical claim of the Republic of China or a claim that some future Republic of Taiwan might have.
What do you think the broader implications of this are? Do you think this is something that has the potential to influence the outcome of a vote, or do you think this impacts too small a cross-section of Taiwanese society to really cut through?
It probably impacts a small cross-section. Keep in mind that it's only June, so by the time voting day comes next January, a lot of the gaffes of different candidates, no one is going to remember them, frankly. There'll probably be some. But I think the most important lesson that he'll probably take away from this is, especially when it comes to foreign policy issues, bilateral relations with Japan, China, the United States, he still needs to do a little bit of homework, not necessarily on the background of what the issues are, but how he wants to portray it to the public.
That was Taipei-based political risk analyst Ross Feingold speaking with our reporter James Chater. Taiwan's new military reconnaissance drones could share live data with the U.S. and Japan. Taiwan is expecting delivery of 4 U.S.-made drones by 2025. Anonymous sources told the Financial Times newspaper that the U.S. would link those drones to its data-sharing system that could help Taiwan and its allies track the movements of China's military. But one of those sources has warned that this type of data sharing could anger Beijing. Taipei and Washington have declined to comment on the report. Dozens of Chinese warplanes were spotted operating near Taiwan's airspace on Thursday morning. The Defense Ministry says it recorded 37 Chinese military aircraft to the southwest over the span of 6 hours. This included fighters, bombers, refueling craft, and radar planes. TaiwanPlus reached out for a map of the incursions, but the Defense Ministry said it would not provide one. Defense officials say that they monitored the Chinese maneuvers closely.
国军运用联合情监侦手段，全程掌握共军动态，并检派任务机、任务舰以及岸置飞弹系统，严密监控应处。
Victims of a $50 million Ponzi scheme say Taiwan's government failed to act on early warnings, but the government says it's not to blame. John Van Triest has the latest.
These victims of an online scam took to the streets on Wednesday, directing their anger towards government officials. The people here were caught up in a recent Ponzi scheme called im.B, and they say that inaction by the authorities is partly to blame for their losses. The im.B platform matched lenders with borrowers, promising the lenders up to 12% interest. But almost all the borrowers were fake, and new investors paid off older investors until the scheme recently collapsed. 5,000 people lost a combined total of more than $81 million. Victims say local officials flagged the platform 7 years ago, suspecting illegal activity. But they say the Financial Supervisory Commission gave the platform a pass, as it hadn't violated the Banking Act. And victims now say the commission wasn't the only one to ignore warnings.
我们自救会里面是有人说他很早以前就已经有去报案了，有去检举了，但问题是不了了之。请问一下，相关的责权机关是哪些？今晚会说不是他啦，苏维部也不是他啦，然后调查局那边也是啊，明明就应该要往下查的案子不查。
But government agencies say this isn't true. The Investigation Bureau says a case was filed on im.B, though it can't reveal details because its probe is still ongoing. The Banking Bureau also says that claims the government chose not to act because the platform didn't violate the Banking Act are false.
定位表示没有违反银行法，而且呢，反而是续明说，违法吸金的行为呢所受的法规很多哦。
The fallout of the case has been political as well as financial. Lawmaker Chen Opo from the ruling Democratic Progressive Party has given up on re-election after he accepted money from im.B's founder, Zheng Guowei. Chen says he was not aware Zheng was involved in criminal activity. Meanwhile, the DPP has alleged that the mayors of Taipei and Taoyuan, who are members of the opposition Kuomintang, may have links to Zheng as well. John Su and John Van Triest for TaiwanPlus.
In health news, Taiwan has confirmed its first case of a child with mpox. The Centers for Disease Control says the child caught the disease from a family member and has mild symptoms. Worldwide cases peaked in August, but the disease is still spreading here in Taiwan. Authorities are urging anyone exposed to mpox to watch out for symptoms.
要注意有没有出现水泡、红疹，还有发烧等等这些跟猴痘比较相关的症状啊。如果有的话，请跟这个卫生单位以及就是跟这个就医师跟医师来告知自己有这样的一个接触史。
Taiwan's government has shot down the idea of adopting a 3-day weekend. The Labor Ministry says it would be difficult for the country to implement such a policy right now.
在这个时候，如果要来实施全面性的周休3日，那缺工的情况会更严重。
Last month, petitions calling for a 3-day weekend received enough signatures to require a government response. The Labor Ministry on Thursday released a statement saying it had consulted with workers, employers, and local authorities on that question. They found Taiwan's labor shortage to be the biggest obstacle to a 3-day weekend. Supporters of a shortened work week have rejected those findings. Coming up, we head into space to count the moons of Saturn. Stay tuned.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. A Taiwanese soccer player who plays professionally in Spain is back in Taiwan after the end of the season. He revealed that he has signed a new contract to continue playing in Spain. Leslie Liao has the details.
At the age of 15, Yuan Yongchen traveled to Spain to chase his dream of becoming a professional soccer player. 5 years later, he's about to sign his third contract with the Spanish team. This year, Yuan played for Gran Tarajal, a club from Spain's Canary Islands. Visa issues plagued his most recent season, but he was still able to start twice and play the full 90 minutes of both games. That won him the attention of another team. Yuan recently revealed that he has signed for River Ebro, a club in the 5th tier in the Spanish league system. Though he won't be making big money, he'll get to keep doing what he loves for a living.
是有机会出赛的，相对来说比较重要。那在薪水或者是整体可能住啊、吃啊这方面，我觉得说不会真的让我有生活上的困难，我就没有问题了。
Yuan is only 20 years old. He's paved his road to stardom with sacrifice and hard work. And it seems the young athlete isn't gatekeeping his own potential. He's willing to grind until he makes it to La Liga, Spain's top league, and mix it with the likes of Real Madrid. Alex Chen and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
The hillside in northern Taiwan is still smoldering from a fire that broke out on Sunday. The blaze started in a huge pile of scrap wood on private land in Miaoli County. Firefighters fought the inferno on the ground and from the air over the following days. 10 responders had to be treated for carbon monoxide poisoning after a sudden change of wind blew smoke in their direction. CO levels remain high as of Wednesday. It's not known how the fire started, but the owner of the land is likely to face penalties for endangering the public. Meanwhile, health warnings have been issued across North America as hazy air blankets large parts of the continent. This comes as Canada has its worst fire season on record, with over 400 blazes breaking out across the country. Fires have spread quickly after starting on drier than usual ground, with around 240 of those being described as out of control. The fires have burned over 3 million hectares of land and forced around 20,000 people to leave their homes. The situation has exhausted Canada's firefighting resources. Smoke from the wildfires has drifted south and covered the northeastern U.S. with a thick yellowish haze. U.S. authorities have issued air quality alerts to millions of people around the country. The smog has also delayed flights from major airports on the East Coast. The drought in southern Taiwan is now impacting production of one of Taiwan's most famous products, high mountain oolong tea. Jeremy Olivier has the story.
Mist and tea fields. This is Alishan, a region in Taiwan famous for high mountain oolong tea. Here, tea leaves are usually collected between March and April each year, but an ongoing drought in the country's south has delayed harvests and devastated production. In 2022, this region produced around 1,200 kilograms of tea. This year, farmers harvested only about half of that. The drop in production is hitting them hard.
今年这样一眼望过去这个今年的茶芽吐得非常稀疏了。这个今年是80%没有发芽了，就是根本就是已经血本无归啊。
This is the worst drought to hit southern Taiwan in 30 years. The entire ecosystem is feeling its impact. In the past, farmers had to pull weeds every month. Now even those are dying. The result has cost the tea industry over $4 million this year. 1/3 of this loss is from the Alishan area. The shortage of rainwater is not the only problem. Fog also helps tea grow, but is not reaching the right parts of the mountain this year. Scholars suspect climate change is to blame.
当然，因为过去这60年温度也一直在上升，那跟这个的关系是什么？其实我们不知道。但是因为温度一直在上升，所以这个可能是因子之一。
Whatever the cause, the impact has proven to be more than just a typhoon in a teacup. Alishan's tea farmers are left in a tough position, and the future of one of the country's most beloved products is now uncertain. Patrick Chen, Sam Hui, and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
In happier agricultural news, it's mango season in Taiwan. The recent severe drought in the south left many worried about the harvest here, but this year turned out to be a fruitful one. Mango production is up 21% from last year. Taiwan will be able to export 5,000 tons of mangoes to Japan and South Korea, and possibly to the U.S. for the first time. The drought did cause mangoes to be slightly smaller in size, but but recent rains helped plump those up. A diver has found an unidentified species of sea sponge in waters off southern Taiwan. Laurel Stewart explains.
Snowflakes under the sea. What you're looking at is spawning sea sponges. These porous creatures live in the shallow waters of Green Island off Taiwan's southern coast, and they're reproducing en masse. Taiwan is home to a type of sponge known as the giant barrel sponge. But local diving instructor Yu-ih has found a sponge species that's not common in these waters, growing on a reef. Sponges are often mistaken for plants, but they are in fact animals. Scientists say the first animal on Earth may have been a sea sponge. Sponges reproduce through budding and fragmentation, a process called spawning. Spawning doesn't always lead to new sponges, so capturing it on camera was a rare occurrence. The sponges off Green Island are good for the environment. Duan Wenhong of National Taidong University says these benefits come from the sponge's structure.
海绵基本上在海洋里面它就像滤水器
Experts haven't yet identified the new species, but the expansion of the sponge family is a promising find for Green Island's marine ecosystem. Patrick Chen and Laurel Stewart for TaiwanPlus.
Researchers in Taiwan have made a major astronomical discovery. Saturn has far more moons than previously thought. Here on Earth, we only have one moon orbiting the planet, but most planets in our solar system have a lot more than that. Before now, it was thought that Jupiter had the most moons with 95, but it recently lost the top spot to Saturn, thanks to discoveries made by researchers in Taiwan.
Before there were 83 in total, so now there's 62 more, so that's 145 in total.
The researchers spent a lot of time identifying the new satellites. It could take months or even years to figure out which objects actually orbit a planet, especially because moons come in all sizes. The smallest of the recently discovered ones is just 2.5 kilometers across.
我知道它可能会动，那它动的速度我不一样，所以我就假设很多不同的移动速度，然后把我的影像这样移动之后再把它叠起来，移动之后叠起来。那叠完之后，我看看说会不会有新点跑出来。
Thanks to the researchers' efforts, Saturn now holds the title for the most moons in the solar system. But that may soon change. New discoveries are being made all the time, and new objects may enter a planet's orbit.
实际上还有很多小的天体这边跑来跑去。那这些小天体就是说，如果它刚好轨道近到靠近这个行星的附近的时候，它当然就会被它捕捉。
Scientists will be keeping a keen eye on the skies, on the lookout for any new stellar discoveries. Remotely driven cars have hit the roads in the UK. The vehicles are pushed from one British startup hoping to put new 5G tech to the test. Joyce Zeng takes a look.
Need a ride? How about a lift in a car with no driver? Remotely driven cars have taken to the streets of southeastern city Milton Keynes in the UK. They're being launched by the startup Imperium Drive, who are looking to speed up developments in autonomous driving.
Our goal as a company is to make remote driving safer than normal driving. And we believe that's possible through technology, through computer vision, and through software.
What CEO Kusha Kave is offering is essentially an on-demand car rental service. People looking for a ride can hail one through his app. A driver will then remotely steer a car over for the user to hop in and drive.
You become your own Uber driver and save cost on your Uber trip. When you get to your destination, you just pull over on the app, ask for a remote driver to take over control of that vehicle, and off you go to your destination without having to worry about parking either.
This new service relies on 5G technology. That's the next generation of wireless networks that some countries have already started to roll out. The key differences of 5G compared to its predecessors 4 and 3G is that it's much faster and can connect more devices while lowering latency or lag. That's because it uses new higher band radio technology. These 5G radio waves can carry more data with higher performance, but it can't carry it as far. That's why 5G uses a lot of so-called small cells, smaller versions of cellular towers, to cover the map.
And in essence, the project is about testing 5G capability to enhance and develop these services to a situation where we can deploy them in the city.
With 5G, autonomous cars would have real-time awareness of other cars, traffic signals, and other things that could affect their route. Techies are also banking on 5G to enable entire smart cities. This could see buildings, homes, and even infrastructure like bridges connected online and aware of their surroundings. But before that, it'll have to get over some roadblocks. Some scientists say there's a need for more research into how 5G's denser radio waves could harm the human body. Others say 5G could be a risk for cybersecurity or interfere with other wireless communications for, say, airplanes. But for now, this car is checking customer appetite for the tech and taking it for a test drive. Andy Xue and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out this photo exhibition on display at a Swiss museum. The collection is called Loving, and the photos were all taken between the 1850s and the 1950s. I'm Eric Gao. Take care, and see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, visit TaiwanPlus.com and download the app.